help, we're going to probe the speakers and the panellists, put them on the spot and just dig out that bit of extra information from them, but I'm going to need your help on that. Before we get into the first session, I'm just going to add a little bit more context to what we've already heard, a little bit more on the international scene, because a lot of companies here in this room have international supply chains, and we import a lot of materials into this country. So I think we all in this room know what we're up against. We know the problems. As many of you know, WWF, we produce a health check on the planet every 2 years, and the last one came out in October last year. And again, it sort of shows that we are currently using 50% more natural resources than the Earth can sustain. That's the equivalent of resources of 1.5 planets to support our activities. So it takes the planet about a year and a half to replenish the natural resources that we use in 1 year. So that's, we're massively into overshoot already. And if we continue on that trend, by 2030 we're going to need the equivalent of 2 planets' productive capacity to meet our annual needs. So we really are up against it. There's not really that long to turn this around. We've got the next sort of decade or so to reverse that and get us onto the right trajectory. And at the same time, of course, we've got population growth, we've got the emerging economies fast growing, and that's putting even more pressure on the natural capital that's already been depleted, the natural capital that many businesses completely rely upon throughout their supply chain activities. So now is more, it's time more than ever it's critical that businesses get leaner and greener. It's also critical that companies start thinking about the long game. And what's interesting about, we've seen Paul Polman's sustainability plan from Unilever. And Paul Polman believes that short-term speculators damage the long-term needs of businesses to change the way in which they operate. So under Paul Polman now, Unilever no longer provides quarterly profit updates to investors. That's quite a big sort of pushback on investors. And so this is the dilemma. And he also says we are moving our business model to the long term. And if investors don't like that, they should look elsewhere. An important pushback. And this is the dilemma that any business faces. The expected short-term wins by investors, by board directors, versus trying to get into that sort of longer-term perspective. And so Polman has managed to create a bit of extra space to manoeuvre so that he's able to decide what that company is going to invest in sustainability-wise. And it seems as though more businesses will perhaps have to look at this, creating that space, pushing back on investors, playing that longer game to build resilience for the company in this sort of long-term resilience. So today, that's what we're here to do today. We're exploring how companies are choosing what to invest in. And I'm going to stop my rambling now and invite the 4 panellists, please, to come up onto the platform. Peter Bragg, Greg Spratt, Nigel Graham, and also Steve Barker from Siemens as well. If you could take your seats here. We are going to swap seats as and when you come.